Hi, I'm Zannah Porter, and today we're going to learn about transplanting plants here in the garden. So, first thing I want to do is prepare my site. And so I've got a nice clean palette that I'm planting into. It's free of weeds, and I have plenty of space to put my pepper plants in the ground. So the first thing I'm going to do to prepare is I've got fertilizer here. Here at Green City Growers, we use a granulated chicken manure. This is composted. It is certified organic. It's a product we really like for more slow release fertilizer. We do put this down at planting, and depending on the crop, we may do a second or even third side dressing of fertilizer throughout that plant's life cycle. So I always want to make sure I know my application rate for my fertilizer. For us here, it's 1 cup per 4x4 section. This is a 4x8 bed. So if I was going to fertilize the whole bed, I'd put down 2 cups over the entire bed. I'm just planting in this 2x2 area, and so I'm going to estimate what that rate is going to be based on that 1 cup per square foot or 4x4 bed. So I'm going to sprinkle some fertilizer down where I'm going to be planting. And you notice I'm not just making one big pile of fertilizer where I'm going to plant my peppers. I'm spreading it out. I don't want to have a really high concentration of fertilizer in one spot, so that can actually damage my plant. It can burn the roots, it can burn the stem, it can burn the leaves. So the next thing I'm going to do to help prevent that is I'm going to work that fertilizer into the soil a little bit. This not only helps prevent that burning that can happen, it also keeps the fertilizer from running off. If the fertilizer is just sitting on the soil surface, if we get a big rainstorm or when my drip irrigation turns on, it's actually more likely to roll off the top of the soil than get absorbed down. So I'm scratching it in. It's now a part of the soil structure. It's less likely to run off. So now I've got my pepper plants here. This is a sweet pepper, and it's a variety that I really like. It's quite prolific, and it tastes like candy, and they're beautiful. They're bright orange. So one thing about plant selection is just picking crops that you know you're going to enjoy. No point in taking up space in your garden for things that you're not going to eat. You're more likely to take care of it, and it's just going to bring more pleasure to your life. So I am going to plant 2 of these pepper plants in this sort of 2x2 space, roughly 2x2 space. And you can see I just pulled out the pepper plant. The roots are a little bit bound up. It's not too bad at this point, but I do want to break those up a little bit. Just lightly loosen it, like so. And I'm going to lay my pepper plants out before I actually plant them, so that I make sure, before I commit to putting something in the ground, that I have enough space for it, and that I like where I'm putting it. So I'm going to space these out just like so. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to grab my trowel, and there's different trowel techniques, but the one that I prefer, because I do a lot of digging and over time, if I'm digging like this and I'm twisting my wrist gets worn out. And so a technique that was taught to me a long time ago that I really like is sort of a stabbing technique like this. If you're doing that day in and day out, your arm is not going to get tired. You're not going to hurt your wrist. So you can see I just made a hole that's deep enough for my plant to go into, and it's set a little bit below the soil line here. I'm then going to take my soil and I'm going to push it up around the base of my plant. I want to make sure that when I plant my pepper or any other transplant like this, that I'm covering up the top of this plug. If this plug is left exposed like so, it's actually going to act like a wick, and it's going to draw moisture out of the soil and away from the plant. If I seal it up like this, I'm actually sealing in my moisture, and this plant is going to stay happy and healthy, just like that. So I'm going to space my other pepper plant at least 12 inches away from this one. I'm trying to space it at least 12 inches from other items in the garden, that's the amount of space that these pepper plants need really to thrive. So I'm able to do that. Again, I feel happy about my pepper plant. Instead, I'm going to use my hand to transplant my pepper. The soil is nice and loose, and I like getting my hands dirty, literally, and getting them right there in the soil. I can have the same effect as my trowel. So you don't need fancy tools to garden, and oftentimes your hands and your mind are just enough to get it done. So here we go. 2 happy pepper plants. In a couple of months, these guys are going to have bright orange peppers on them. We'll be enjoying them.